r/AskReddit by Best of Reddit. Non-drinkers of Reddit, what do you tell people when they ask why don't you drink? Grew up in an alcoholic home. Homeless. Always on the run from the law. My grandfathers on both sides were alcoholics. My dad was an alcoholic. My sister is a drug addict and alcoholic. She's living on the street somewhere. I always assumed I was probably an alcoholic, too. So, I just never drank the first one. I'm 53 and have never had a beer or any alcohol. I just tell people I don't drink and never have. A friend of mine was poking fun at me once back in high school. Are you afraid to have even one drink? I responded, you've been to my house. He got real serious and said, yeah, sorry, that was uncool. I just don't drink. Vodka, black and Xanax unfortunately mix extremely well. But hey, here's to day 3 of a different chapter. Thank you for all the kind words. For anyone interested, my story is the same as any addict. Never thought I would become the person I am. I was at work at my girlfriend called to tell me the neighbor at our shitty apartment gave her some heroin since she didn't have any pills. I remember begging her to flush it down the toilet, but the next thing I know, I'm home in my shitty apartment's kitchen smoking black tar heroin off a foil. It was okay. We'd done most other drugs out there, oxys, coke, acid, but mostly vodka for me, like par with his brandy and frozen mangoes. But heroin was nice. It didn't feel intense. Just warm, live. So I decided we'd try some more, or let myself be talked out of my money for cheap amounts by the junkie neighbor in reality. Before long, numbers were saved, people met, baggies bought, and a weekend treat turned into a habit. Suddenly the warm lighted nights watching cartoons turned to desperate runs to the car during breaks and lunch to get through the day. I lost an amazing job at FEMA of all places for being late and spending time in the bathroom smoking. I was just so dumb. Finally, after the 5th detox and 6 months of half-assed getting clean attempts, I said fuck it and moved our asses to Mexico. I had family, made some money online, and if I don't speak Spanish, I can't meet anyone to sell it to me, right? Yeah, it worked out about as well as you imagined. Within a few hours we had a 90x 2mg bottle of Xanax and a few 100 peso bags of dope. Turns out people in Mexico can speak English just as well, and money talks louder than anything. Just so happened my girl made friends with woman fucking one of the higher ups, which led to half pieces of off the block, uncut heroin for 5500 pesos. So about $250 ish for 14 grams of dope. At our lowest we were buying that amount every 3 or 4 days. At that point I was waiting for my next hit while in the middle of smoking my current line. Bags of foils, dooters and lighters piled up. I lost who I was. I was just a demon of desire. Still trying to find my qualities and traits again. We coexisted and adventured, but it was always us just running around the ball of drugs we were chained to. LSD saved my life a month ago. We tripped at a mini Mexican Burning Man on the beach and it opened our eyes to who we had become. We weaned ourselves down to nothing and spent the last 5 days purging everything out while sedated on ketamine from a crooked vet we found. It helped. Then we took a 2-day acid trip and came out different people. I have cravings, but they're fleeting thoughts, not the permanent state of mind I existed in before. I'm not sober. I never will be. Or recovered, I guess. I just know now it's a battle to relearn new thought patterns and behaviors that will lead to a relapse. I lost the love of my life. She's checking into an inpatient center tomorrow 4 years down the drain. My best friend. Gone to the demon we played with. I'm going to get a job on a cruise ship teaching fire dancing. Maybe join a kibbutz across the ocean. Thanks for the genetic ticket, Dad. All I know is I have to rebuild my life one day at a time and focus on bringing the things into my life that make it worth living. Thank you Mooncake, Pvoth and Alexander Hamilton for getting me through the other side. So I knew I was in denial when I said this to people. I drank every day, not to get drunk, but I still drank 3-8 beers every single day. I even had a beer when I got gastro. I hid how much I drank from my husband. I know it was only beer and I didn't do it to get drunk, but still, I had a problem that I was not prepared to face up to. We were trying for a baby and I told my husband that I'd stop as soon as we found out, but in my head I didn't 100% believe that. I did a pregnancy test one day and it looked negative, so I went and got a beer. Went back in a few minutes later to double check and it was so very faintly positive. I tipped my beer down the sink and didn't have another from that moment. It was so weird. No cravings, no withdrawal, nothing. I've had a sip or two of my husband's and it tastes disgusting to me now. The body is a weird and strange beast. Had an alcoholic parent. Turned me off drinking completely. Grew up being told that the most brilliant man I could have ever met was my grandfather, and he died the year before I was born due to alcoholism. My parents had already cut ties with that part of the family for all kinds of alcohol and drug issues. Cousins that couldn't stay out of jail for more than a month, etc. I tell people that my body doesn't process alcohol very well and could hospitalize me. Most don't press after that. In reality, I can only handle the equivalent of one beer before I start to feel uncomfortable and hot, and I've never really felt any kind of encouragement to push through that. My grandfather died of lung cancer 10 years after he quit smoking. He smoked constantly since he was 10 years old. The last thing I remember him saying to me was asking me to promise him I'd never smoke. So I don't smoke anything. A lot of my friends and my boyfriend smoke pot, and while I have nothing against it at all, I won't partake because of that promise I made and because watching someone die of lung cancer really sucked. Fortunately, no one has really pressured me when I've turned down pot. It's the drinkers who seem to take it as a personal offense that I don't drink. I owned a liquor store. I've seen the worst aspects of alcoholism. People coming and still wearing the hospital gown. Worked at a liquor store when I was young. I can second this. We opened at 9 AM and every day the same homeless drunks would come in for their pints of booze at opening time. Our cashier would have the pints of cheap booze ready for them daily, BC she knew what was coming. Second story, same store. I rented a house across the street, a few houses in from the liquor store. Before I worked at the liquor store, well, I'm working at the store for a few months and I realize my landlord, who lives in the upstairs unit of the duplex, is a regular at the liquor store. I quickly realized he was buying 1.75 L of vodka every few days for himself. I'll never forget the time I last saw him alive. He walked into the liquor store for his usual 2 handles of Bennett's vodka. His skin was green, very deep yellow green. At that point of my life I didn't know what cirrhosis was. I do now. R.I.P. Pete. It really depends on how annoyed I get at how nosy they're being. In descending order, I'm not a fan. I have a family history. They don't have enough booze in the bar for me, wink wink. And my favorite, the truth bomb, because I'm an alcoholic and if I start now, you won't see or hear from me again for, at least, 2 weeks. 1 is too many and 12 is not enough. Okay, I'm a little concerned now. Say someone has like 30 drinks a week, but those drinks are only confined to 2 nights. Are they an alcoholic? Edit. First, thank you for everyone's replies. I really appreciate the insight from everybody. I will go to the doctor to see about any current health problems I may have and to talk about my binge drinking. To answer some questions, this isn't an every week thing. Some weekends it's 20, some it's 6, and a lot of weekends it's none. A lot of summers is filled with even more of those weekends of no drinking. I'm a college student in my early 20s and I don't weigh more than 145 pounds, but I rarely have bad hangovers or any withdrawal symptoms. From the responses alone, I don't believe I'm an alcoholic, as it's not something I feel I need or feel that I can't stop. It's not something that has negative consequences or affects my engineering studies or personal life, but it's at the very least binge drinking and not healthy, even if it's not consistent or likely in my future. Although, like the gilded comment states, it's not smart to be diagnosed by online strangers, and that is why I will consult a doctor.
It's not about the number of drinks. It's about the negative consequences. Are you missing work? Messing up relationships? Doing risky things? Getting sick or hurt? Getting in legal trouble? Missing out on fun, meaningful events because you're drunk, hungover? Not remembering things? If so, You have to decide whether the feeling of being drunk is worth the consequences. Ultimately, it's your life and nobody can make that decision for you. But be aware that if you are an alcoholic, your thinking on the issue may be very skewed. That's the nature of alcoholism. Alcoholics do a lot of rationalization like, oh, yeah, I've gotten a few dice and my girlfriend dumped me because of my drinking, but now I just drink at home and I have a new girlfriend who drinks like I do. You have to be very objective and honest with yourself and ask if alcohol is making you happier or making you suffer.
Thanks for watching. Please like, subscribe, and comment.